Welcome back to True Horse Horsemanship. We're in a little community north of Falcon Ridge called Rainbow. This horse that is behind me, he actually came from Falcon Ridge. Sharon, you want to come in here, Sharon? Sharon, she adopted him last August sometime, and he was pretty thin. Well, he was really thin actually, and so now he's up to weight, and she get me here to rehab the horse a little bit so she feels comfortable and safe with him. And Sharon, you probably know more of the story than I do.
My daughter and I were on vacation, and I just happened to go on Facebook, and Nikki had explained that this horse had been taken up and tied to the tree or fence of the wolf sanctuary in Julian, and just told that they could just have him for food, and that isn't their policy. And they called Carlsbad, and they picked him up, and he was there, and I didn't realize, but he was pretty much at his end of time period before they would euthanize him. And so this was one day before, and Lori and I saw him, and Nikki had explained what was going on, and my daughter got a hold of Nikki and said, let them know that we'll take him. And so she put it all together, got him picked up and taken to her ranch, and when we got back from vacation, I came and picked him up and brought him here, and he was a little reluctant to load, and David helped me get him in the trailer and get him comfortable, and actually worked putting him in the trailer, not just shoved him in there. He got him in and out and brought him here. He stepped right out, and I pretty much just let him be a horse. He was very underweight and has put on, David thinks maybe 300 pounds, pretty hard for me to judge, and he's been very apprehensive. He's been afraid, and so all he's pretty much done is he's been free-fed, orchard, and he's just been eating. I have my pins set aside around this area here for him, and they could visit, and he doesn't seem to be that interested in the other horses. But I have seen big changes in just a couple of times that David has come out and worked with him, and you can tell that he wasn't treated well, but he's beginning to start trusting. He really trusts David.
Yeah, because in the process, when you watch me work this horse, you're going to hear him snort. But Sharon Tay, he don't snort near as much.
No,
and
he doesn't.
I'm just going to go through some of the techniques I was used with him. I've only did clicker a little bit with him because I want to get him where as soon as I go in the pen, more or less he either stops his feet or he comes to me. So that's where the clicker comes. So you people who see me using this whip, Sharon saw me use it last time. There's no pain involved. All the clicker and the whip is just a cue. So when he does the right thing, I use the whip to encourage him to move his feet. And some people say, well, why don't you just run him around and round pen for a half hour or an hour and do the same thing? Why should I do that? In just a few minutes, and it'll take a few times with him because he is apprehensive and he has been mistreated somewhere. Sharon Tay, last time we didn't get sweat up, that we saw a change in him, so that's when I moved to something else. And the same way today, I'll do a little bit of clicker with him. I'm not going to get too involved with it, but when I start seeing a change, I'll halter him, and then we'll go to something else. Because I don't want to, one thing when you're training a horse, what I've found, if we constantly work on one thing, the horse is just going to zone out, and you're going to lose your horse, and they're going to go la-la land. So I try to break it up so I keep that horse's mind active. I want to work with the mind. I don't want to work with the mind by wearing them out or anything. I want to truly have a fresh horse as I can, so that way, let's say after I'm done, Sharon wants to get on him and go ride. She said, well, shoot, I could go take him to the round pen for 20 minutes and lunge him before I get on him. No, she should be able to jump on this horse and go, especially at his age. He's around 20 years old. He's had some formal training behind him. I can tell that riding him. He's still pretty rusty yet. So this whole video, this episode will be on, a little bit of groundwork, because groundwork is important. The reason it's so important is it teaches that horse to look for where you're at. So if they spook, number one, they don't hurt you. They're going around you. I know he is, but I don't worry about it. Now right there, I gave him a chance. I clicked before I brought the whip in. Ideally, at some point, I want him, as soon as he hears me click, him come forward. Now at some point, he won't even do that. He'll just see you and he'll come to you. So I'm gonna back away. What I want to do right now is get him to encourage him to come forward to me. I don't want to have to go to him every time. And Sharon will tell you before, all right, here's a big step for him, because usually when you back off him, he's nervous and he's blowing and going all over the place. But I got his eye now. He's focused on me. His ear's up to me. His eyes are on me. And yes, he's snorting. But I've had somebody ask me about a snorting horse. Well, I don't worry about it. I don't pay it no mind. The more I work with this horse using the right techniques, this horse is going to calm down and quit snorting. You know, some horses just naturally snorters. And so as long as they're behaving fine under saddle or in hand, you know, to me, that's a trivial thing. So I'm going to walk away from him. He's not following me. So this time I'm going to just click and see what kind of response I get. Now right there, I clicked. He took a step forward. So I'm going to go back and pet on him. Now right there, he moved away. So I'm just going to encourage him. Let him know that's not a good idea. Now right there, it was a good spot because he's getting to be, that's his corner, and that's where he'll start listening to me. But this time he got out his little safety net and he stopped and let me approach him from somewhere else. Now right there was nice. For a second, he thought about following me, but he... You know, I know some people do clicker training with treats, but I want to go to this head. A horse looks for leadership. That's what they want. And all I'm doing, I'm being the boss mare. I'm controlling his feet. And I'm letting him know that when he's next to me, everything's fine, and I'm petting on him. And if he moves away from me, I'm letting him know that's a bad reaction. That's not the reaction I want. I'm going to control his feet and bring it back to it. It's all about controlling his feet and pressure and release. I'm putting pressure on him. When he does the right thing, I release it. And right now, it's just using my clicker and whip. Now, see, to me, this horse, you got to know him, but right there was a big step. Yes, he only took one step to me, but he was approaching me to a certain point. I'm going to try and encourage him to come up farther. See, I'm trying to encourage him. You see me walking back and forth. I'm doing that for a reason. I'm trying to encourage him to move his feet. There. So from here, I'm going to grab the halter and do the same thing. I'll use this technique if I got a horse that's never had a halter on him. Once I know I can approach him, and then I just start petting him with the halter. So I'm going to get up here. And you notice how I'm approaching this horse. I'm walking up to him like he's not going to move. If he moves, I'll go back and back up what I'm doing. But I'm not going to, what I call, stalk this horse. Because the quicker this horse learns, everything's going to be all right. That snorting you hear is going to go away. But if I keep stalking him, you know, right there, the camera didn't pick it, but this horse started twitching a little bit. As I came in here, see, there's a little bit of uncertainty there. Now I'm going to back off, approach him. And you notice that time he didn't have that one ear backwards, both ears were forward. Now here's a tidbit. Right there. See, a lot of people try to put that nose band on first. I always put my halter around the neck. I'm gonna hold it. He comes down to it, then I'm gonna slip it on his nose. I'm not gonna chase him with that nose band to put the halter on. I want him to look for it. And eventually he'll just drop his nose right in it. And he's got a little bit of head problem, so that sort of helps build on that. Now I'm going to sort of back it up before we go to the round pin here. I'm going to back up my clicker, this time without the whip. I'm going to use my lead line. Good boy. So I'm going to click. Click again, and I've just picked up enough line and use whatever pressure it takes to get him to move forward. My lead line should be my emergency line. That's what he's basically going to do. He's going to associate this clicker with me pulling on that lead line. But like I was starting to say, my lead line's emergency line. I don't hold my horses here because horses' natural instinct is push farther. You can lead even an unbroke horse that's not halter broke too well, even just with a couple of feet. So from here we'll go to the round pin. Okay, Chris. You can shut it, close it down. So we're to the round pin, a small one. I'm going to go through what I call my checklist with him. I'm going to see if he backs out of my space, which he did. It wasn't the prettiest thing in the world, but he did back out of my space. And that was one of those things we worked with because he didn't want to. Good boy. So I'm going to ask him to move that hip. Move the other hip. See, and you know, horses use their eyes for 90% of their communication. And actually, humans do too. We only use 7% of our voice as communication. We just don't know that. So, now I lost my train of thought. So, you know, I want him like right there. He moved out of my space. So I don't have to do this exaggerating thing to get this horse move that hip. He knows move that hip. If I approach him, my physical presence is asking him to move that hip without exaggerating movements. The more you exaggerate your movements, the more you're going to train that natural tendency a horse has, because they're going to be looking for that natural movement. Now, how do I want him if I don't want to move his hip? It's easy. I get up here, I start petting on him. My body position is different. If you probably didn't see it, but my shoulders even dropped a little bit. I'm not going in authoritative. So now I'm going to change. I brought my shoulders back, and I said move that hip. The same way I'll do it over here. I'll get up here close to him, pet on him. I'm going to set my shoulders back, move that hip. So like I said, we're just going through our checklist. Now I'm going to send him forward. I'm going to point, go to behind his jaw, because that's the steering wheel. I'm going to leave him alone. Now right there, I know it didn't pick up, but I went into neutral. I picked up my line a little bit. That's saying, hey, disengage, stop. I'm going to point, say move forward. I'm going to go in neutral, bring my hands in the center. This is what you should do. I shouldn't have to go do that. I'm not even going to say how old I am, but my standing joke is I've seen enough ladies' butts so y'all don't have to bend over. So I'm going to point, say please, and he went. This horse, his whole movement started to change. Because before, you want to come back in here for a second, Sharon? Because I got a feeling this is going to be a 2 episode anyway. Because I like to have Sharon here, and so she can, y'all don't think I'm just talking out my butt.
Now the changes in this horse in a couple of times have been unbelievable. He was so on the muscle. He was so tight in his movements and jerky. And he's softened now.
Yeah, he's starting to lower that head. Before, he was really animated on the front end. And, you know, it looked sharp. But the reason he was doing it, because he's, like Sharon said, tight on muscle, which means basically he's on muscle, which means he's really nervous. So now the big change on, because what's this, my 3rd time here?
Yeah.
This is my 3rd time here, and this is once a week, people. You know, this thing where...
And a couple of weeks in between, because it's a holiday.
You know, this thing where people think you got to school a horse hard for an hour, that's not the case. They will retain it. And a horse like him, I'm just rehabbing. I'm not really training him. But let's say my personal horses, you know, I hit and miss, but they always retain. They're always right where I left off. But I don't overschool them. And Sharon's background is cutting horses. And, you know, until you ride one, you don't get the pleasure of knowing what it is. But, you know, good cutting horse trainers, they're not going to overschool this horse on a cow, because if they do, that horse is going to quit working cows. You can work a cow right out of a horse. You can take the most cowy horse, and if they're on that cow too much, they're going to say, BS on this, I'm tired of them, I don't like it no more. And the same way, all the training stuff, if you overdo it, the horses get resent, and you won't go forward. You're better off spending good quality 20 minutes on a horse than a wreck for an hour, the bet. So we're going to saddle him up. Like I said, I'm just going through the techniques we're going to be working with him on, and then we're going to saddle him up, and because he likes to sort of scoot out from under you. Using a Argentine dog bone type bit. Simple reason, I didn't go to snap on him. We tried the first time I worked him, and he was really behind the bit. So I need something in there where if he gets behind the bit, I can correct that. He is a little stiff laterally also, but this Argentine bits are independent action, so I can, you know, I just got to be a little bit more patient, but I can also work on that at the same time. And his saddle issues, number one, he doesn't like taking the bridle, and maybe he won't, but he was trying to scoot out from under me when I try to mount him. Just jump up here so I can control his head. There, he dropped his head again. But this time I'm not going to step down. I'm going to ask him to drop it, have him relax a little bit more. See, he's anticipating everything. So yes, I ride spurs and I use spurs as my tools, but they're my last resort. I always use my calf first, then I go to my spur. So we're just going to walk around. Sharon, you want to grab the mount block for me, hon? Now this will be my third time on him. And actually, after I'm on him, I'm seeing a big change in him. He's walking flat. I'm riding what I call on the buckle, loose rein. And number one, I got to get him out of being behind the bit, because our objective is ride him in the arena next week, and I don't want him, I want him to have some brakes. So I'm going to use my body first, feet forward, sit on cantle, push against it. I'm going to grab his mouth, but then I want to not hold on to him. My feet forward. And you see, most time when I'm asking for a stop right now, I'm going to utilize one rein more so than the other, because that way if he gets behind the bit, I can get in there and say, hey, get that nose up. So we're going to bend him laterally. Now I'm riding this Argentine shank bit, so I got to make sure I just don't grab hold of him and turn him hard and fast, because I encourage him to put that head up in the air. I want him to come to my hands. I'm going to use my inside, in other words, my left leg right now, to move that hip a little bit, get him to bend around my leg. I want him to bend around my leg. I'm going to use my inside leg here, get him to bend. He's a little stiffer this way. As soon as he gives it to me, I'm going to release it. Like I said, this kind of stuff, it's better use a O-ring snaffle, but I got two different things I'm working on. And I'm not as concerned about him bending laterally right now to him getting behind the bit. Because I can, once I get him out from behind the bit, I can always switch bits back. Oh, that's not bad. Now right here is a big change in him. As Sharon can tell you, beforehand he was behind the bit, that head was up in the air. But now he's dropping. And I'll tell you what type of breed he is, and we're not sure what he is. He looks sort of Andalusian, but on the other hand, he looks more like a Lipizan. That's what I want. See, I'm not grabbing hold of him. I'm letting him move freely. Now I'll do a couple roll back here, and I'm just taking back the other way. Encourage him to move forward. Good boy. Now, that time he followed that hand. That's right there. You see, I stopped him with using one rein, which is a cavalry stop, they call it. But, you know, I like my one rein stops and my cavalry stops. And some people say, well, you pull a horse over if you use a one rein stop. Well, you don't. You know, that's pretty cut and dry to me, simple. You teach a horse a one rein stop before you lope them and do a one rein stop. I mean, they know how to walk trot, so you start at a walk trot and then move off to a canter. And even though I'm in a round pen, if you notice, I'm going everywhere but round. Because I want to control his feet. And I'm not just turning him back on the rail. I'm turning him back to the rail, away from the rail. And let him walk off a little bit. There we go. No. And right there, I grabbed him a little bit more because he tried to walk off. I mean, it's just important for this horse to learn to stand than it is to do anything. I'm going to wait. He drops his head, then we're going to move off. Now, will he be totally relaxed when I ask him to move off? Probably not. But after a while, he'll learn he can drop that head and relax like he's done. You know, I loved I had a shot of him the first time I rode him. Pardon? Yeah, I don't know if you can hear Sharon, but his chin was to his chest. Now, the way I'm utilizing my hands when I'm going back and forth, I'm putting my neck rein on his neck first, leg, and if you don't move off of that, then I'll pick up his nose and back it up with that. Ooh. As for back here, a lot better. His feet's freeing up. So that's just a tidbit with this horse. He's doing, considering this is my third ride with him, yeah, he's got those things. But all that's going to go away. I'm not worried about it. Because he's not on the bit as much as he was. He's just from last week to this week, he was a lot different. He's lowering that head. But I got to teach him, just because I'm in the saddle don't mean you're going to have to work. You got to work when I ask you to, but you know, we'll walk around here and do it, just walk around, let him relax. I want to be able to ride him on the buckle here on loose rein. So I'm just going to throw my foot over. Now he knows how I just didn't jump down. I stopped. We're going to stand here for a minute, let him smell me if he wants to. Right there, he lowers that head, then I'm going to step down. Because I can work on his mounting problems while I'm dismounting at the same time. But I like the little horse, well, he's not so little. So that's it. I don't know if this is going to be 2 episodes or 1, but I've got a feeling it's going to be 2. Yeah, I'll do that. You know, here's my self-motivation part of it. Right now, read on the internet and everything, people are so strung out. Because, and I'm with you. I'm the same one. We got a president that's not listening. You know, this gun thing is BS because nobody's addressing the problem. You know, look at where the root is. I mean, I was raised with guns, so we knew better to touch them. I mean, and they weren't never locked up. But we got to look at our kids, say, what are we doing wrong? You know, people, there's nothing wrong with admitting that we're doing something wrong, but there sure in hell is something wrong if you don't want to see it and admit it. You know, you got the videos out there, these 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds, even though it's rated for mature, their parents are buying these video games that they're cutting people's heads off and blowing people apart, and it's real looking. You know, you got to stop and think. You're desensitizing that child like we do a horse, despooking a horse. That kid's not going to have no inclination about taking somebody's life because it's like, oh, it's just a video game, I can pop them. You know, there's no thing. I mean, we had our heroes. We had Roy Rogers, Gene Autry, Hopalong Cassidy. And yeah, they shot somebody, but we were talking about that last time. They shot him in the hand or the arm. I mean, but they had some kind of moral standpoint behind it. So we need to look at the root of the country. I mean, and look, and tell our president, get off his crap and get rid of stuff and let us have our country back. You know, we got a constitution, and I guarantee it, if we would go back to our constitution, bingo, throw the seatbelt laws out, throw all these other stupid laws out, throw this law out where we got to have health insurance, because my poor daughter, I don't know what she's going to do, not feed her kids because somebody says she's got to have health insurance. We got to get back to real. That's simple. And as I say, keep it simple. The more difficult we make it, the worse it's going to be. So people, just strive to be the best you can be, and look, when you got a problem, look at it. Don't blame guns, don't blame, you know, we're looking for gun control. What about all the car accidents? There's more people killed in car accidents than people shot with a gun. And I'm not talking about just drunken drivers. You add that to it, then you got more to it. So we need to take responsibility back and give it to the people, not to the government. So that's my preaching for the day. So with that said, as I always say, be true to the horse, they'll be true to you. To my kids, my grandkids, and a special person out there, Washington Lake, K-8, God bless and take care.